pop in. Spawning in the top left position is the green Zerg player representing Azubu, ladies and gentlemen, at DreamHack Summer 2013. He's currently down 1 game on his Protoss opponent. Can he come back? It is Violet. Huge fan favorite here at DreamHack. His opponent, however, trying to make his mark in this tournament and doing a tremendous job of it so far. He is 1 game away from getting into the show, the Final 8 at DreamHack. Recent pickup by Team myinsanity. He's based in Switzerland. Our Korean Protoss, it is Stardust.
Okay, now, this is probably the most important thing. Anyone who is a Protoss player should really be cheering for Stardust, because he is the last remaining one in the tournament. Alternatively, there's the other way of looking at it, that actually maybe they should be cheering for Violet, because if all the Protoss players go out in the round of 16,
yep,
maybe there'll be a buff.
Maybe there will be. We'll have to see. I mean, there is the War Prism, of course. That change currently trying to be implemented on the test maps. We'll see if that ends up making its way through. It's still being tweaked at the moment, and, well, nothing being produced but probes at the moment. 3 of them lined up here. Seems to suggest the Stardust may be going for his Nexus first.
And that's what he did last game, and it worked for him. It's not quite such a safe map to do it on. Many Protoss players favouring going for the Gateway expansion on Belshir, but still, very viable to do, especially when you've got in and scouted nice and early. Nice little block of the Hatchery of the Natural will be occurring here. Stardust just trying to be a bit of a pain. Whether he goes for a 2-base play again, though, is yet to be seen. I do actually quite like Protoss players going up to 3 bases on Belshir.
Very nice there. The probe trying to get a little bit further away, squeeze out the amount of time he can block, and Violet, sensing the opportunity, immediately puts down the hatchery. Lightning quick reactions there, and as a result, the probe cannot get another word in edgeway. So Stardust won't be able to delay this expansion any further here, as he now starts his wall. We've got the Forge and the Gateway going down, and the second pylon. This is going to be pretty secure, and his Nexus will be safe.
The Overlord, though, comes in, sees that it was a Nexus first build. That means a quick third has to be taken by Violet, and if he doesn't get that done soon, he will get himself into a bit of an economically tough spot. Now, in terms of build, let's muse a little bit about what Violet could be going for. What Stardust could be going for.
Oh, and I love this from both players, by the way. Last game, we saw that the drone was accompanied by 2 Zerglings in case there was a block going down at the third. Now, bear in mind, 2 Zerglings cannot net take HP off of a pylon if it's building, so totally worth it if he wants to put down a pylon, but never mind, it looks like he's just going to go ahead and lose that probe altogether. He can put down the pylon and cancel it and delay the third a little bit if he wanted to. If there were 4 Zerglings, definitely not worth it, but 2, you can just about get away with it and buy yourself 30 seconds or so.
So, the prediction being, are we going to see Stargates? Are we going to see Robos? Or are we going to see something like DTs? Well, currently there's no cybernetics cooldown, so we've got to wait a bit longer, but on Belshir, I actually think that the Immortal play can be really strong, and it's because you can really get in between the natural and the third base of a Zerg incredibly effectively due to that little second attack path into the middle. So if you come in there, you can get some nice force fields off to really segregate it and cause a bit of a pain. And that's something that a lot of Zerg players can struggle with. We've got the +1 coming down here too for Stardust.
And that's part of the reason why this creep trim is already down for Violet. He wants to be able to go between that natural and the third as quickly as humanly possible.
And that's a good point. Really glad you pointed that out, because he needs to make sure that he gets a good defense up. +1 coming down here for Violet is just the first indicator that it could be an Immortal push. It could also be just a lot of gateways, though.
We'll wait and see. Right now, the options are still open for Stardust here, just going for the second gateway. Violet, in the meantime, is going to have to defend his third a little bit against his Zealot. That's actually doing a reasonable amount of damage against this Queen here. And, I think he might even get the... Oh, he turns around. He might have gotten that Queen.
I think it would have just got away because it would have got on creep.
Oh, yes, that's a great point. So the Queen able to waddle away on creep there. But, wow, very, very close. And now sending 2 Zealots in. Is he going to consider going back for round 2? No, the Queen on creep. That's a very good point there, Matters. Completely missed that. And now we've got a couple of Overlords popping out here. Again, just trying to get that map vision, trying to get that creep spread as high as possible. The Zealots trying to goad the Queen off creep. Once the Queen's off creep, are they going to try and double back around and pick it off? It looks like these Zerglings will be able to surround it, so no chance this time.
No, those Zealots go down pretty hard. Violet is getting down a Roach Warren. And it looks like Stardust just wants to go for the mass gateway approach. He's got 5 additional ones coming down. That takes him up to 7 gateways.
That's right. So
But,
gateway
the Overlord. How much has the Overlord
oh.
seen? He hasn't seen the 2 additional ones at the bottom.
He's seen 3 there. So
4.
he's seen 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the cybernetics core.
Oh, the Robo. Throw the Robo down. Yes! Such a smart move.
So smart, guys. 4 gateways has been seen. A Robo as well. And it immediately
Cancels,
gets
yes.
cancelled. Stardust with the mind games here. So we think it's a 4-gate pressure going into a Robo. Violet's going to be thinking that right now, but it's actually a gateway all in. And we have 3 Spore Crawlers going down as well. And, oh, they're not going to help against this gateway push.
This is a problem, especially if Violet decides to try and move across the map to stop the Immortal Sentry push coming down. He does see that a couple of Stalkers are pushing out. That's the first kind of giveaway that it maybe not what he originally thought, because you wouldn't generally see it. And then he gets a good scout off with the Zerglings. He saw all of the Stalkers coming in,
Whoa,
but is it
and
too
here
late?
we go.
Is it too late?
We'll find out in just a moment, guys. The first Spine Crawl is just getting targeted down ASAP. He might as well kill it off now. Yes, he does. There are 4 Roaches against approximately 1 billion Stalkers, and we have a round of Zealots warping in as well. Stardust, a lot of units coming over here in the 3rd base location. The Zealots now up front, trying to tank as much damage as they can. The Queen's going down via the Stalkers
High
as well.
energy
and
Queen
Probes
focus
being
first. That was a really
Probes
good
even.
move. Knocking out that high energy Queen means no transfuse can go down. The Stalker count is going to get higher and higher. Zerglings are on their way down, but this is a good position and you can just be so relentless here. The pylon as well, notice, is making that choke even tighter between the rocks.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. Stardust can try and kite with the Stalkers in that position. And that means the Lings can't get the surface area that I ideally want as well. He's down to 60 supply, but Violet's down to 72. He's continuing to stream more Lings in. Is he going to be able to hold this off?
He should be able to now, as long as nothing catastrophic happens. He needs to make sure that the reinforcements can't keep coming in. Stardust has only got a very few Stalkers left. The Spine Crawler also moving forward. The Zerglings, though, they're the problem. And yes, Violet is going to be able to hold this down. And this is such a big win for him.
What a massive hold there. Were the gateways chrono boosted, I wonder? They must have been there, but Stardust just unable to get enough units in the time, and now we have a Spine Crawler down, picking apart that pylon as well. Stardust having to fall back here, and he's waiting for, I mean, +1 ground armor is about to complete as well, so he might be able to come in for round 2. But I don't think Stardust was quite expecting that level of defense coming out from Violet. What an incredible hold.
That armor coming down, really good point you make, JoRoSaR, because that is going to give him 1-1 up against no upgrades on the Zerg side. That's surprisingly potent, especially with a lot of gateway units. There's no Hydras out once more, so it is just these Roaches. Lair has been significantly delayed by the Zerg player, and on top of that, there's so many gateways for production. But this has got to be dealt with very nicely. The one thing the Violet has to get is a good surface area on this gateway force.
Oh, and that Zergling at the Watchtower actually saw pretty much everything as well, so that's a really, really great point. Violet now, he's going to try and pick apart the pylon because he's saying, look, without any pylons, you can't sustain your attack, and I just need to kill your army once, which is completely right. But now we have Stardust thinking about going in once again. He needs to hit this soon. He's got 3 more pylons incoming. Oh, and that's because he was supply blocked to high heaven on 84. Not a great thing for him here. And Violet, both sides really considering pushing in. They're at almost identical supplies. This is very, very tense.
Now, these sentries are so important because the force fields are going to zone out some of the Zerglings, and that is what really Stardust needs to take this engagement. We've got more Roaches on their way out. 1-1 upgrades are finished. Oh, a small Zergling counterattack is going to be coming across the map, and as we can see, going straight past the Watchtower there. This could do a nice bit of damage. Is the wall off completed? No, it's not. The Speedling's going to get in. At the same time, though, this is Stardust pushing straight towards the 3rd. Is unable to break through at the moment, and those Speedlings have made it into the main of the Protoss
He needs to do something. Those Speedlings are wreaking havoc in the main. Good warping of Zealots there, but look at this. After picking up the Spine Crawler, Stardust cannot divide his attention any longer. He has to deal with these Speedlings. Zealots in the main, Zealots in the natural, though, are at least going to ensure that these Lings do a minimal amount of damage, but Stardust has to go. He's at 119 supply versus 127. The working count is 45 to 39. Violet actually foregoing a lot of drones here for this defense.
And that's the problem. All while Stardust is putting on the pressure without engaging, he's just forcing Violet to buy more and more units in case of the what if he goes now. The force field's trying to go down, does get just a few units, but a few units for free is okay. Stardust, however, supply blocked after losing that pylon. This is again not the sort of thing he needs, and he's going to lose the other proxy pylon. Luckily, one remaining. He has got to keep that one up. It is essential that it doesn't die.
Yeah, this is a really nice guerrilla tactics here from Violet, by the way. He's just continuously getting a larger and larger armor, getting ready to hold against this, and then when Stardust's army moves around, he just picks off additional pylons. And look at this, a couple of links here and there, every single time, just making sure he keeps Stardust on his toes. And if this pylon goes down, I think Violet's going to be feeling quite good about himself, which is why Stardust, amusingly, is now in a defensive position, trying to make sure that pylon doesn't go down.
This is so tough for Violet. What's the drone count now?
The drone count is currently at 44 to 39 in favor of Stardust, and it looks like Violet he's committed here. He's going from both sides, but excellent force fields round the back from Stardust.
This is exactly what Stardust needed. Those force fields absolutely on the money, but good surface area nonetheless for the Zerg player. But the roaches to the left.
Oh, he needs more on the right-hand side.
Yeah, he's got to keep them up. He's got to make sure that he deals with this force on the left. He's currently trying to engage on the right. At the same time, the Zealots are pushing back the roaches, but the roaches, of course, can kite them all day and all night. Ooh, this is stressful.
And now Stardust needs to go through the middle. He needs to go through the middle because the army is segregated and Violet has to regroup here. So does he have force fields still available? He needs a couple of good ones here. Those weren't the best force fields because they didn't send out too much of the army. Those secondary force fields might do a fair bit because the Stalks in the back are now able to do a decent chunk of DPS, but now the Zealots are kind of trapped in between the two sets up front. As they disappear, though, we'll be able to get a better idea of just how far Stardust is pushing. He's at 97 supply versus the 105 from Violet. He's trying to push in now, picking apart these Stalkers. The Zealot wall has basically disappeared, and this is a slugfest. Stardust, though, looking like he's dropping in supply a bit faster.
Remember, Stardust does have those 1-1 upgrades, but he's being forced to pull back a little way. The force fields weren't there. A couple of roaches getting snatched out, but the sentries all went down. Stardust is still committing to this pressure, though. However, Violet is ahead by 13 supply. The main base of the Protoss player getting a little bit low, but the drone count still incredibly low for the Zerg player at only 39.
Violet can afford to keep defending here as long as Stardust's army doesn't get too much stronger. Stardust, on the other hand, is against a little bit of a ticking time bomb, thanks to the minerals starting to mine out in his main very, very shortly. He has to try and win with this push. Otherwise, we're just going to see a Zerg snowball, basically, and Violet trying to tempt a force field out of Stardust there. Unsuccessful. Stardust waiting for the perfect moment.
He's got to get good force fields. That's the real big thing. The Zeta count is quite low. The Sentry count also isn't spectacular, so that means that all the energy is going to matter. But here we go. Violet going in. Good force fields there. Literally splitting that army in half. This is precisely what the Protoss player needed at the moment. The roaches are going to die, and this is a really good engagement for him.
This is fantastic now for Stardust. He's back up to 94 supply versus 101, but I feel like he needs to go in and try and hold this choke position at the third base. This is a lot more open, and Stardust has to commit to doing something. He's getting his robotic facility now behind it. 5 more Zealots, that's what he's waiting for, because there are a lot of Zerglings in this composition, but I really feel like Stardust needs to go very, very soon. Not just take these small engagements, but also try and go in for a potential kill as well. And Violet trying to go for a counterattack around the right-hand side. It's not going to be able to do it right now, and Violet will be able to run back if he sees fit.
Now, Stardust did try to take a third base there, but Speedling run by from Violet was able to deny it. That was really frustrating for him. Stardust looking to try and transition out of this, but genuinely, I just don't think he can. However, Violet is still pumping so much money into units and not enough into his economy. Even though the third isn't up yet, I'd still feel that Stardust is okay. A couple of Speedlings are going to make it into the natural base though, and are they going to be able to pick off many probes? The answer, no.
Nope, definitely not. A single lone Speedling, oh pardon me, and his little brother there are going to be able to do a little bit more annoying damage, but right now Stardust, tail between his legs. That gateway attack did not work ultimately, guys. I think Stardust could have been a little bit more aggressive against the third a bit earlier. He had some great force fields, but all the great force fields were outside as opposed to inside the base. But never mind, we have another engagement here. Good force fields trapping a lot of those roaches on this side of them, and the Zealots getting a great surface area as well.
Yeah, those Zealots are absolutely tanking up tons. The Stalkers doing great DPS from the back. There are a couple of Speedlings in the main base though of Stardust, and that's something that he has got to be careful of. A Zealot has walked in, so should be able to clean that. Now, of course, Stardust nearly mined out in his main. He needs a third so badly, but he's ahead in supply. He's also ahead in the upgrades. 1-1 is still down. Violet is yet to get an evolution chamber.
And this Immortal could prove to be very, very useful here. So, what I was saying before was that Stardust had some great force fields. He had some here, and he had some over here. But once he wins that mini engagement, notice he kind of fell back to this little plateau.
Yep.
Imagine if he got into the third and he had some great force fields here and some great force fields here, and when the armies fell back, he could start hitting Violet's third base and force him into a follow-up engagement that wouldn't be so good for the Zerg. That's the kind of play I want to see out of Stardust right now, because even though the force fields were great, he hasn't been using his army in that offensive a manner. He's just been dancing around, if you like, with Violet.
Oh, this is really smart by Violet. He's sending some speedlings down towards the natural in third base. These speedling counterattacks are essential.
He needs to stop the third. He knows that if he stops the third indefinitely, he can win even if he's trading not efficiently. If we take a look at the income, by the way, Violet is now mining considerably more than Stardust, but Stardust looking like he really needs business over here at the third base. Does he really want to get rid of these rocks? He might want to use it as a force field choke, but it looks like he's doing that right now. And he's
got so many units, he just wants to be able to get the majority of them in a good attack angle.
I think so.
ASAP.
It's about the concave here, and here we go, and it looks like, some great force fields over to the left. This is exactly what Stardust needed, actually.
Oh, look at that force field, he dropped so much.
Fantastic time warp as well, and now Stardust is doing a lot of damage.
The Immortals
against
aren't
the
fighting.
army.
Okay, now they go. That's good. Okay, the Immortals have got to get into
I think this is good for Stardust. Those force fields may have done it there. Great concave form. Taking out the rocks was the correct decision. And Stardust now pushing Violet back. Violet's at 87 supply and dropping. He is facing elimination from DreamHack right now as myinsanity.stardust is looking to book his place in the round of 8.
He has got down that third. A big speedling counterattack is going to be coming down. There is not enough energy for a mass recall on that mothership core, but Violet, if this goes to a base race, I don't think Violet can win that. He's only got 60 supply, and there's just so much stuff for the Protoss player. Those force fields are absolutely brilliant. The cannon is down. The Zealot needs to get in position to complete the wall off.
Stardust had to win this engagement because if his third was delayed for much longer, Violet would have started snowballing. Violet's going for the counterattack with roaches. The cannon is going to go down back home. Where is the mothership core? How much energy does it have? It's at 83 energy, so he can go up into the main, snipe off the hatch, and then mass recall into his main base. Stardust needs to save these probes, though. That'll be kind of useful because they're not actually anymore in the main base here. The working count is 15-14 now to 6. So low econ game, definitely. Once this layer goes down, there should be energy for mass recall. There's the mothership core.
Yep.
He needs to join the army.
Bring the mothership core over, mass recall to the main, and this is one. It's that simple. There's no production remaining for Violet.
GG, he knows it. No production remaining, and Stardust, ladies and gentlemen, completes the victory over one of the fan favorite players in this tournament to go into the round of 8.